Hi everyone, I'm Zhang Wei, 34 years old from Wuhan, China. Probably the name Wuhan where I live and work is what drew you to this video today, because the accused pneumonia occurring worldwide also originated from here. The number of stories I have about Wuhan is endless, but today, as a husband, and above all, as a doctor, I want to tell you about my loss in this epidemic. Wuhan pneumonia has taken away half of my life, the wife I love the most. I still remember December 2019 when a number of unexplained cases of pneumonia began to be recorded in hospitals in Wuhan. The intuition of a doctor told me that it was not any common disease. I was always alert, watching closely the small number of contracted cases then. My instinct told me that things would get worse quickly. So, when everyone was welcoming the upcoming new year, I volunteered to spend my entire time at the hospital doing research on this new case. I had almost no time to return to my family, nor did I check my wife. I subjectively think that my smart wife would know how to protect herself. I still remember vividly in early January 2020. My wife once asked me to be hospitalized because of some mild fever, runny nose, and cough. But since this was the beginning of the disease, I didn't fully understand the severity and advised her to stay home and take medicine. About a week later, my wife recovered a bit. But the grim fate did not allow a doctor like me to wholeheartedly devote to the work and at the same time fulfill the responsibility of a husband. One day in mid-January 2020, when the disease was widespread and the hospital was all crowded, we received a new group of patients suspected of being infected with the coronavirus. As soon as I entered the room and saw the face of the patient lying in the very first bed, I collapsed in shock. Oh God, no, this can't happen to us. I screamed in my mind, not wanting to believe that the person lying on that hospital bed with the writhing cough was my wife. Dear God, she tried to hide from me the fact that her illness did not fully recover after self-medication. My silly woman. She was seriously ill, yet still thinking of her husband's career. The moment I saw her in the hospital bed, I couldn't focus to work anymore. Even though our hospital was overcrowded at the time and the doctors and nurses urged me to stick to my schedule, I could not help but cry when I held the hand of my beloved wife who was barely alive in that room. I used everything I could at the time to save her life, including Keltra, used to treat HIV infection, and combining with the interferon protein to fight off the virus and strengthen the immune system. Everything was almost hopeless. Her cough continued. Her fatigue increased by the hour. I insisted on not leaving her hospital bed until the provincial leader and the hospital director came in person to order me to leave. During the 3 days my wife was hospitalized, I could only afford 2 hours a day to see her because of my busy schedule and the heavy pressure from family members of other patients. I almost got hit once because I couldn't save a patient. At that time, I could only cry and let those angry people do whatever they wanted to do. Because in my mind, there was only despair when I thought that that dead body, sooner or later, would be my poor wife. Soon after, the nightmare came to find us. On the 4th day after my wife was admitted to the hospital, I was testing for a new group of patients when the nurse I trusted to watch my wife ran to me in tears to inform me that my wife had died because of respiratory failure. No, I felt like the whole world collapsed at my feet. Exhausted and in pain, I had no more tears to cry. Although my limbs were wobbly, I remember running off to where my wife lied, almost didn't arrive in time to see her face one last time before they zipped the anti-infective bag for the infected bodies. I fainted when people took my wife's body from my arms despite my agonizing screams. You could call me a bastard, a terrible husband who only takes care of his work and neglects his family. I fully deserve all those accusations. After the death of my wife, I hated Corona. I hated the place where the evil virus had been born, and the stupid people who ate wild animals to cause a disaster. I became a hot-tempered and scary doctor in the eyes of my colleagues because of my cold assertiveness at work. In my heart, I was trying my best to treat other patients as a penance to the soul of my ill-fated wife, and also as a revenge of the evil virus that took my wife away. I felt nothing inside but hatred. No matter how many patients I saved, the number could never help with my guiltiness for losing my loving wife to death. Because of the disease that I now had the healing power, I will never forgive myself. Perhaps, when completing the mission of a doctor to help patients cope with this terrible trauma, I will immediately fulfill the responsibilities of a husband to my wife. I will soon find her in the afterlife to look after and spend all the time loving her as I should have. Goodbye, guys.